Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm not here with Geeky Sparkles. I'm going to talk about DEI in Hollywood, and it's kind of boring. It's going to get boring to talk about it, but there's a lot going on. Hollywood is still freaking out. They still haven't gotten the memo yet that DEI is over, and it's not because of Trump necessarily. Actually, DEI was being rolled back before Trump because it wasn't profitable. And it didn't make a lot of sense, and they were opening themselves up to litigation, discrimination, all that sort of stuff. We basically had like 2 or 3 years where DI was the big buzzword, and you can see it reflected in the entertainment products of that era. And it definitely ended because studios are like, yeah, every movie we're putting out with the DI stuff, it's failing. Netflix shows are failing. All stuff's failing. Nobody wants this, right? Not even the groups that we're trying to represent. They don't even want it because they think it's pandering. So we're going to talk about Hollywood freaking out over DEI. Apparently, the Paramount Skydance deal and other mergers could be blocked because of DEI policies. And Hollywood's non-profits are under attack, guys. They're under attack from Trump. The higher profile you are, the bigger the target. Well, all of this stuff is collapsing. And again, this is Darwinism. This is Darwinism. This isn't like, I mean, yeah. Is Trump going after DEI specifically? Yeah. Is Brandon Carr going after it specifically? Yeah. But it was ending months before Trump got elected. It was ending when it looked like Harris was going to win. So let's talk about Hollywood freaking out over DEI ending. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Check out Clownfish Gaming. I do live streams over there talking about gaming news, tech news, stuff like that. Just resumed it a couple of days ago, and I'm going to be over there more regularly. We will be doing live streams, occasional live streams over here on Clownfish TV. We used to do live streams all the time. And we weren't like 24/7 like some channels, but we were probably once a week. We'd do it once or twice a week. And we're going to try to do that again. It just depends on coordinating schedules and all that, because we have a lot more going on in the real world than we did back then too. And we moved, and it's a whole thing. But we're going to try to do more live streams. So let us know like what times you guys like to watch live streams. If you like to watch live streams, some people are like, yeah, I hate live streams. You go for like 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. I'm like, yeah, I can't sit through that. So this video is only gonna be like 10 or 12 minutes, guys. I promise. Let's go with this one first. This is the Hollywood Reporter. Hollywood's DEI promoting nonprofits face Trump assault. Trump assault. The higher profile you are, the bigger the target. Many organizations who work with studios, from Women in Film and Color of Change to Gold House, are facing a newly challenging environment imposed by the White House. It's a dire time for the Hollywood nonprofits dedicated to advocating for minorities, women, and other underrepresented demographics across the industry. Many of the major studios and networks at publicly traded companies have already rolled back or eliminated their in-house diversity, equity, and inclusion programs since Donald Trump signed an anti-DEI executive order. No, incorrect. That maybe on paper, but they had started doing it quietly last year, the year before. Look at who they were firing. Look at who or what they were canceling. Look at the shows they're canceling, the projects they're canceling. And you'll notice a common theme. It's basically something that looks quote unquote woke. That's what they were canceling. And why are they doing it? Money. Nobody wanted to watch this stuff, right? They lost a lot of money chasing DEI, and they were canceling it themselves. Trump gave them an excuse because now they can say, oh, it's against the law. I got to do it now. It's like, no, they were already doing it. I mean, man, Disney was threw their DEI HR lady overboard like 2 years ago. They're like, yeah, they were already doing it. That directive also sought to rein in institutional grant making by signaling to the biggest private philanthropic foundations that their support of such programs could lead to regulatory scrutiny. Meanwhile, another administration directive has significantly stymied federal funding to the tax-exempt sector. Now, many organizations doing the work, from Women in Film and Color of Change to Gold House. What about women in animation? Are they affected? if not yet through a direct hit to the philanthropic financing, then to the secondary ramifications of an all-out war on progressive policies. The ground has quickly shifted. The higher, says Scott Curran, who works with entertainment-oriented nonprofits, the higher profile you are, the bigger target you are, especially in this environment. The goal isn't always to stop the work. It's to create a chilling effect so that the people doing it stop the work themselves. Well, they were doing it themselves. Again, this is incorrect. They were doing it themselves before Trump because they were losing massive amounts of money. In fact, I don't think Paramount would be in the situation it was in right now if it wasn't for two things. They chased streaming, and they should not have. And a lot of their programs, including Star Trek, which was a gold mine for decades, went woke. Let's be honest, right? They got Sonic, but that's not enough to pull everything else up. So this is Felix Schein, who runs his own advisory firm assisting foundation grantees engaged in advocacy efforts. I've yet to talk to anyone who isn't having this conversation. There's a palpable concern about the government being weaponized against them for political purposes. Oh, golly gee whiz. That never happened on Biden's watch at all, did it? That never happened when we had to stomp out, quote unquote, misinformation, medical misinformation that's now being treated as fact. You had to silence YouTubers, silence podcasters, silence any websites that you didn't agree with. And you'd go for the jugular. You'd go for the money. You'd cut off the advertising. That golly gee willikers, how does it feel? How does it feel to be on the receiving end of it now? I'm just saying. So they were talking about Trump's DEI, anti-DEI order, specified that the U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi coordinates with Russell Voigt, Director of the White House Office of Management and Budget, to submit a report within 4 months recommending a proposed strategic enforcement plan against the private sector for DEI. Well, because they're saying it's illegal, because you're basically saying straight white men need not apply, right? And that is the unspoken and in some cases spoken truth of a lot of the, it's basically like anybody but you, you can apply for these jobs. In fact, Disney said flat out, and what's her face, the head of television, she said that they passed on scripts, they passed on pilots for shows that were very, very good. They were just too white. Can you imagine that? Like, this show could make you a lot of money if it just wasn't so white. But this show could make you a lot of money. People would love this show, but it's just too white. We can't do that. We can't air this white show that people can choose to watch or not watch. God forbid. It's so weird. It's so weird. Now they're dragging the IRS into it, and a former IRS lawyer from Pittsburgh. And it said that people are trying to scrub the DEI stuff off the website themselves. It was happening before. This is what I don't understand. They're freaking out about it now, but the studios are going to blame Trump. Absolutely, because they don't have to be the bad guys then, do they? They're just going to be like, yeah, okay, well, it's the law now. Yeah, thank God. Thank God we can stop making this woke shit because nobody's buying it and we're bleeding money. We'll just blame Trump because they hate Trump. So we'll just blame Trump. Maybe Elon too while we're at it because, but anybody but us. But the truth is they wanted to end all this before. They tried it because they thought it was trendy. They thought it would make them money, and it didn't. It was anti-money. So Paramount, Skydance deal and other mergers could be blocked over DEI policies, says FCC Chief Brendan Carr. Paramount Global, Verizon, and any other companies trying to gain the government's blessing for mergers should eliminate policies aimed at promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. That was the blunt message from Brendan Carr in an interview with Bloomberg. Any business they're looking for FCC approval, I would encourage them to get busy ending any sort of their invidious forms of DEI discrimination. Carr said the commission's review of deals would include looking for illegal DEI policies. That stance is consistent with Trump's broader efforts to stamp out DEI. They were doing it themselves before he got elected. I'm just saying, because it wasn't making. Now they just have an excuse. Already a number of media companies have been rolling back DEI efforts. Yeah, especially in the aftermath of they scaled them up in the aftermath of George Floyd. Can I say George Floyd on YouTube? After his death in 2020, Paramount last month joined the list with its co-CEOs telling employees that the company would no longer measure success and progress on company-wide DEI initiatives, including aspirational representation goals. Hire the best person for the job and hire the right person for the job. And if you've got a role that is a quote unquote diverse role or whatever, then you hire a diverse person to play that diverse role. Got a great idea for a TV show and the cast just happens to be diverse, naturally diverse. Good. But you should be like, well, I'm just going to make a diverse TV show because then it's very obvious that that was your goal. It's just like, it's typical propaganda. It's like, when I was a kid watching like Davy and Goliath or, getting, the Chick tracts or whatever. It was obviously like, they're trying to convince me of the religious beliefs. Right. And that's fine, but don't, you know what I'm saying? It's like, but that is what DEI is. It's basically the left-wing religion, in my opinion. And it has become a left-wing religion where it's like, it's our way or the highway. And if you're a bad person, if you don't agree with us, then you must hate this kind of person. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and is it misrepresented sometimes? Yeah, I think sometimes it's taken out of context. I think sometimes people ascribe the term woke to things that maybe aren't woke. They might be progressive, but they're not necessarily woke. And again, just to show the difference, like I would definitely say that Star Trek: The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine were very progressive shows, but I wouldn't consider them woke necessarily. I know people try to argue that, but those things, I don't think those two are mutually exclusive any more than being a Christian is the same as being a cultist, right? You can have cultists who are Christians. You can have a Christian cult, but not every Christian is a cultist. Not every progressive is woke. Not every piece of progressive entertainment, in my opinion, is woke. But it's basically the cartoonish expression of progressive politics, right? Where it's very obvious that there's an agenda front and center. And Star Trek could be ham-fisted sometimes too, but it was entertaining, right? And you don't even get that anymore. You don't even get the entertainment anymore. It's just like, you're a bad person, and also white people suck. That's basically it. And it's like, oh, geez, okay, well, I'm not watching your show then, I guess, if you don't like me very much. I don't know. Under the law, okay, so let's go back to the Paramount thing. Under the law, the FCC can only move forward and approve a transaction if we find that doing so serves the public interest. If there's businesses out there that are still promoting DEI, I don't see a path forward. Last summer, Paramount announced a long-in-the-works $8 billion deal to combine with Skydance, telling investors they expected to close the transaction by the end of June. The FCC, which is evaluating the deal because it involves the transfer of broadcast licenses, has already seized on the actions of CBS News and 60 Minutes after a conservative group filed a news distortion complaint about varying edits of an interview of former Vice President Kamala Harris last fall. Okay, Trump has sued Paramount and CBS News over the interview edits, the $20 billion complaint. $20 billion complaint. Filed in Texas says the interview was shaped in a way that cost traffic and viewership to the president's Trump Media and Technology Group, which has Truth Social, which I keep forgetting exists now because if X is basically Parler and Truth Social, it's like, why do you need Truth Social? Lawyers for CBS and Paramount this month filed a motion to dismiss the suit, calling it an affront to the First Amendment, just as Disney opted to pay a $15 million settlement over a Trump claim against ABC News rather than risk further Trump-led scrutiny. Paramount has had internal discussions about settling the Harris suit. But what does that have to, that doesn't really have much to do with, they're basically just worried that they should be worried. They should be worried. Don P1 says, take it from me with a grain of stardust. There will be a Paramount Skydance Corporation one way or the other. Yeah, I believe 100%. It's the only way they can survive. And it'd be very interesting if, when this happens. It just sounds like everything's being tied up in court now. But when it happens, and this happened with Warner Brothers and AT&T too. There was like a couple of years of lawsuits or whatever, and they're gonna open the door for more mergers. That happened on the last Trump term. But Paramount can't survive on its own. And now is not the time to double down on DEI. But that would put John Lasseter most likely in charge of Paramount Animation too, which would be, which would be CBS, which would be Viacom. I think Viacom is thrown there too. And that'd be like Nickelodeon, all that stuff. So he'd be in charge of like all this cartoon content, which will make a lot of people very unhappy. Larry Ellison's bigger than Brendan Carr. If Carr is right, then how did AT&T buy Warner Brothers when the government said no? They said, screw you, and did it anyway. Yeah, that was a big thing. Anonymous, executive orders are not laws. That's what Congress is for. Well, Congress is on his side. That's the thing. So it's going to be a very interesting couple of years. I will tell you that by the end of this term, the media landscape is going to be so vastly different than what it is now. I don't even think I can overstate that. Same with Twitter. I said when Musk bought Twitter that this was a tipping point, that things were going to change for better or for worse. They were going to change forever, and they did. I'm telling you right now, by the end of this term, the media landscape, the Hollywood landscape, Hollywood is not going to look the same after 4 more years of Trump, and that's what they're terrified of. And they should be afraid. They should, because they've been doing this bullshit for like 10 years now. And it's if they had, let me put to you this way. You push a pendulum too hard in one direction, it's going to swing back and hit you in the face. And that's basically what happened. Like if you just played it down the middle or mostly down the middle for the last 10 years, you would not be facing this severe backlash that you're facing right now. You could have done the DEI stuff, snuck under the radar. Most people would have noticed, but because you made such a big deal out of it, and you made such a big deal of attacking people who didn't agree with it, and you made every program about that, every movie about that, people paid attention. Normies paid attention. People that were on the left even were like, yeah, this is going too far. And they put Trump back in office, and he brought his posse of people with him, and now Hollywood's going to pay for it. They're going to pay for it. Again, all you had to do, I keep saying it, all you had to do is be normal. All you had to do was be normal. And you spent the last 10 years being abnormal and bragging, and the sheer fucking hubris. Since we're talking about Star Trek, the sheer fucking hubris of Hollywood is going to cost them now. Absolutely. And there's not going to be much left. I think by the end of it, I think we're going to see outsourcing like we've never seen before. I think we're going to see the utilization of AI like we've never seen before. We're going to see Hollywood productions moved out of state, out of California. And you really have nobody to blame but yourselves, in my opinion. I'm going to wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later.